here we are, uh, Jeanne and Regina and myself, and we're ready to do our presentation, which this week we'll have to do. Well, Jeanne, why don't you take it from here and give us a proper introduction in your own words?
Oh, I was sitting looking at this wonderful group of people, and I was thinking back to the old days when I would go to the spiritualist churches, and on a Sunday night or whenever they were there, and I would never in a million years have thought of myself being in the spiritualist Zoom, all those years later, because we're not in churches anymore. And it's just wonderful how we've adapted to technology. I love the energy. I always love the energy in the spiritualist churches because they were so open to spirit. I mean, there was just no covering up who you were. You just sat there and let spirit talk if it did. And I have some stories, oh my. And it was just wonderful because everybody believed pretty much the same way. So it was just one of the most friendly, open environments where there really was little difference between spirit in without a body and spirit in a body. And I was just reveling in that memory as I was looking at all of you and saying hello and everything. And I'm sure some of you have had some really good spiritualist experiences is in spiritualist churches. I mean, that wasn't my own experience in my life, but I'm so grateful for it. So I just have that feeling today of that gathering of all of us, each in our ways, bringing our specialties in and bringing in our light. And what a delightful, powerful way to start the week. So we're going to use our usual centering and protection with the shield. And Marcia, I don't know that you know this, but I know you'll just flow with the flow because I can see all of your people waving behind you. And what we do is we, first of all, get ourselves in a comfortable position. We close our eyes just for a moment. We center down, as they say in the Quaker world. We take some slow, deep breaths and we imagine and vision around ourselves a very personal shield, which is a small four-sided pyramid. And as we're in that space, the intention is full protection from everything that isn't of the highest good, the highest light, the divine. And we see a boundary line being drawn at the base of this pyramid, which further establishes that protection. And then about a foot and a half out, we envision another line, and that those two lines go all the way up to the top of our personal pyramid. And while we're in this pyramid, this is where we relax. This is where we let go of any kind of discordant thoughts or psychic debris or psychic dust bunnies, as I call them, or any negativity that might be trying to ease its way into our energy field. And we just see all of that having no success. And the success is that we are in that center of the divine, that sacred space of consciousness. And we breathe with that. And that helps us then put our egos into neutral so that we have a very open space for today, whatever the experiences are meant to be, without expectation or judgment or preconceived ideas. We're open to spirit. And then we walk into a group shield, which is a much larger four-sided pyramid. And there's a graphic that goes with it with these spinning energy bands. And the first energy band is going clockwise. The second one goes counterclockwise. The third is clockwise. And the fourth, which is not on the graphic, is a beautiful deep blue violet, and it goes counterclockwise, and it expands from the floor, the base of the pyramid, all the way to the top. And as these EBW spin, they have such a synchronicity and a velocity that it just creates this place within a certain consciousness of purity. where our spirit guides and teachers and healers and beings and mentors can reach us and we can reach them in a very protected space. And as we're going into this pyramid, we find ourselves a comfortable spot, whether we're sitting in a nice recliner or maybe we're on a yoga mat, whatever we feel comfortable with. And as we sit there, we feel spirit coming in, we feel our own spirit relaxing. We start to tune into one another and create this wonderful synergistic vibration. And the breath takes us further and further into that space of being the observer. We've gone into the presence of this wonderful vibration of love. And now we're going into the field of being the observer. When our egos stay quiet, we open our hearts and our minds. And we welcome all of our protectors and guides and healers and friends as we have this wonderful gathering, this circle of the spirit. Now we're really ready for the afternoon and whatever it brings to us. So that's the first part of this. And then Dan, you want me to continue or you want to introduce this a little bit?
Why don't you continue, Jeanne, please?
Okay, so I know we have quite a few people here who are intuitives, psychic mediums, sensitives, seers, however you want to call yourself. So, I feel like I'm talking to a very elite and advanced crowd, but I just thought I would share, because Regina and I have talked a lot about this, especially in the time where so many people are uncovering their skills and blossoming in their mediumship or their sensitivity. And I just wanted to share what has worked for us, and again, reiterate why we use the shield and then other things that can go along with this. And you don't have to be a practicing medium to use these guidelines, because I think anytime we're in meditation, it's important to be aware of the energies that we're in and around us. And I do the shield because Spirit gave it to us as they knew we were going to be venturing into rougher times. And as you know now, especially in the United States, there is a real conscious effort to divide us. And they're really doing this on the outward level, they're doing it with words, but on another level, they're doing it, dare I use the word psyops. But it is this mental space of trying to divide a nation that isn't really as balanced as it needs to be. So whether or not that was happening, just in general, wherever we're living, we need to be aware of disruptive vibrations. So one, in my many years of experience, and I really I learned a lot doing a lot of psychic fairs and psychic programs, where there's like a meat market for psychics, and every once in a while, Marcy is smiling. Every once in a while, people will come and sit down in front of me and go, "Tell me something I don't know." And the energy that came off of them was so startling. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. So I learned how to clear that field before I could even start, because people who are really uninformed don't understand that you can't really come at a psychic like that, or a medium, or an intuitive, because what you're doing is blast them out of that vibration, which is where we read a person sitting across from us, and where we create a space that is our connection to our spirit team. And I know, Wendy, you had, I'm sorry with names right now, the lady that was on that had this wonderful situation to train mediums,
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah.
she wanted them to be able to do readings in a train station, and get it right. And I really appreciate that. Actually, I've had some clients sitting in train stations wanting to have a session, and no, can't do it there. There's thousands of people around. Anyway, people just don't fully understand and appreciate. Um, so there are a lot of things to this topic, and I just want to touch base on several of them because maybe some of you have questions or things you can offer. Um, the shield was the thing that has been the most important in the last 10 years for us in our group, uh, because it just creates this synergistic energy. And some of my clients that I mentor even feel it. They can feel that spinning and keeping out any looky-loose things that don't want to be around. Because not only do we just have nasty energy floating around, we also have, and I don't know if some of you experience this, but there's an intensity of remote viewing going on right now. And every once in a while, I find somebody in my space that is not one of my team members. It's not a random spirit. It's a trained remote viewer coming in, and I know it because they're in my face, almost like looking like an alien would look at you to study you. And so it's like, no, out, shields up, get out. Because we don't need that. And the reason why they often find people like us who have this frequency is because our frequency is much brighter and lighter and easily seen amongst other energies and people. And they, unfortunately, in the 80s, and most of you might know this, or maybe you don't, it's free information now from the Freedom of Information Act, where they actually had government agencies looking for psychics, and doing whatever they could to destroy them. So they would not bring in new prophecy or new enlightenment or new, engagement with their consciousness. And there are some who were public who, were damaged because of that, and who knows how many others that we don't know were. And I certainly had that experience, and so did Regina, because of our connection to the Challenger material, because the government knew about us. And so we know this stuff. I'm not going to dwell on it, but it's about how do you work with that? How do you intuit what it is? How serious do we take this? So it really is important that we shield ourselves and we know who we are. So if something comes into our field in our meditation, we really can trust that our guides are giving us something that's really authentic and something that's really correct, as correct as it can be for the time being and what we can see and be relating to. I know when people first start out, Regina and I, when we were talking with this and with Dan on our Zoom meeting, sometimes people who start, especially young people that I watched on YouTube, they have an experience, they don't really know how to put it in context. So they make assumptions about what they're getting. And that's pretty dangerous. It's dangerous for all of us, as we all know. And so we need to really know who we are, know what fits and what does not fit, and really know the language that we share between our guides and ourselves. I feel like I'm talking to the choir with some of you because you already know how to do this. But it's really important for us to, in this time period, whether you live in the United States or you live in Switzerland, to really be aware of things that would slip in without our knowing, because if we get busy in the day, it's easy for the debris to kind of find its way in, wherever it may come from. It just may be floating through the air, it may be somebody down the street, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what makes a lot of the things that are prophetic interesting when they don't happen. Is because often a medium or a seer will be getting information, but it is not through a clear consciousness, or it's through the prejudice of the medium. And we all have them because we all have our own way of thinking about things and what we believe in. And when we get into more of a consensus mode with one another, and we can feel that vibration working in a harmonic way, then we can much more easily trust the information that's given. And we have that, we're like a tuning fork. At least that's how I feel. You just have this knowing that goes deep down inside of you when information is presented from spirit and it resonates. You might get, goosebumps on you. You might just have this deep inner knowing in your gut. Other information that might come to you, you have to send it away because it doesn't feel right. And the feeling doesn't come from the emotional part of our consciousness. It comes from really the depth of our soul and says, oh, keep this, throw this out, keep this, throw this out. And a lot of this is trial and error. A lot of this takes, just years of experience. I opened up very quickly in my mediumship, but it took years to really shape my gift to the point where I could understand the things that were coming through, what my language is, and to trust myself. Because, sometimes you get a client or somebody comes to you and you get this real clear picture of something. And they go, oh, no, no, that doesn't make any sense at all. And they really push against you. But that vision won't go away. That's the piece that we're being given, or that phrase that we're hearing will not release itself. And so I will tell the client, well, you may not figure it out right now, but it won't leave me. So I know there's something there that we need to visit. So you put it aside in the reading, and then you come back to it later on, and they'll suddenly go, oh, now I know what you're talking about. So you got to work through people's denial and work through people's rough spaces, etc. And I know you all know that. So the reason why I think it's really important now is because what I'm sensing from spirit is, I never know really what they want me to share, even though I write notes and take things down, is there's going to be an attempt. Now I'm going to sound like a paranoid prophecy conspiracy theorist, and I'm just going to say that's not what I'm trying to do. But for those of us who are very in tune to the energies, we of all people have the responsibilities to really measure the information that we're given, because there is a plethora of psychic activity going on right now, and it's coming from all directions, and it's coming from different levels of spirit guides. And some guides are pretty evolved, and they really do have incredible vision. And other guides are just kind of so learning how to do it, and the vibration isn't quite as clear. And I don't feel that with any of us in this group, but you will be connected to people that will come with you at that level. And so discernment is going to be vital in the next 4 or 5 years. Discernment of spirit is going to be vital. And you might feel like you're starting all over again. And that's really what I'm getting for my guides on the other side right now, and why they wanted this moment before we go into cosmic voices stuff, of just really reiterating and reaffirming and, asking all of you to just be as clear as you can, because there are a lot of factions at work that we are not necessarily seeing right away. We may feel them, and most of all of you are very in tune to what needs to be in your space and what does not need to be in your space. And you may not give it any time, but it's still trying to come in. It's going to try to influence people like us who are able to channel from other realities and other places, because we bring in truth to help people move through this evolutionary time that we're going through, both on a personal level and a collective level. So, Spirit is saying, watch out, because it may surprise you. Even for those of you who have been at this and are very skilled for many years, there still may be influences walking in, and it's no fault of your own. This is not about anybody being lazy or, not skilled. It's about what we see in the outer world with this conflict is also on the unseen side as well. Regina, you have your hand up. Go right ahead.
In reference to the changes that are happening, I'm listening right now I'm listening to the rest of the story that I began to hear this morning. And that is so many of the changes that are happening or the shifts that are happening is because, fortunately, a great thing. A lot of people are waking up. Lots of people are really enjoying being on the internet and discovering these things that they're those that are hearing voices in the positive and those that are not, but a lot of people are doing their own research about paranormal or extrasensory perceptions, telepathy, all the many things, without having the judgment of somebody telling them it's impossible. So there's more and more avenues that individuals are reaching out for and reaching into and looking up, and it's wonderful. But at the same time, as all of you know, that as we advance in our knowledge and understanding, we have to have the self-awareness. We have to go within. Every single time we learn something, we've got to go more and more within in order to learn more above, you know. And if they're just all those who are looky-loos and are really excited about it and want to do all this, but not have the understanding that they need to do a lot of spiritual work to go with it, then many of the individual entities or the hanger-ons or the spirit people who affect these other individuals are often the same caliber of people that they choose in their own relationships with their own friends. Sometimes you can't get rid of there's people who just can't get past a certain type of friendship and don't know how to move forward and get or let go of people that they need to let go. Well, those are also the type of people they attract on the other side. They're attracting the same type of energy. It's the same level of experience. So that I think is what's really important for all of you when you're working with other individuals, young people who feel like they're getting all of a sudden a psychic attack or not. They may actually be experiencing entities that are very similar to their own social group of people, and whether they have advanced forward from them or not. It also depends on our own self-discovery and who we are and who we want to be. I hope I'm making myself clear because I understand it, but I don't know if this is clear coming out of my mouth. I'm sorry, guys.
No, absolutely.
We
And
do understand it, Jeannie, but I wonder for the rest of them. Because, okay, I'm looking at Sally right now. This beautiful special angel there. And she had to go on a self-discovery before she really could interact with your son, right? And even though your son was trying already, you had to get to the level that he was already at. He was already such a spiritual being and an entity, and he was above that. He was in that space when he left. He was already such a developed soul. You had to catch up to that soul level. Does that sound right, Sally?
Yeah, I think that's why it was hard for him to be here, right?
Yeah.
He was just the kindest, sweetest young man, and this world was hard on him, you know? And yeah, I had to have an ego death. I had to release kind of all those things that I held on to, in order to become quiet enough to begin to hear him. Yeah.
And that's painful.
True. Yeah. Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah. I'm still going through it. I'm still going through, man.
I recommend easier ways if you can manage it.
Oh man, yeah, I know. I've had some nasty ones, and they're all the 1 year my husband was out doing a fire, burning our trash because it's either that or got a gas all the way into the place, but we could burn our wood piles and stuff. And it was pretty big. And he says, I've got a pyre going out here. Let's throw all the stuff we need to get rid of into the fire. It was cathartic because we were just throwing our emotional baggage. Things like anvils of crap. You just drag along through your lifetime going, and now, Gary, I know you've had the fire physically, and you lost so many things physically, but spiritually, you gained so much. And in my fire, I gained so much. And every year, every winter, we have one of these now. And because invariably I get more and more crap I have to throw out. But it's so that I can go and learn more, be open to more, accept more, and hear more. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And somebody told me, well, isn't it a lot of work? I'm not thinking of it as work. I think of it as, yeah, it's kind of cool though. It's kind of fun to say, hey, I really like myself.
It's
I really like
cathartic.
yeah. And when I do that and accept that, I get the most amazing entities who step up to the plate and say, oh, now she's ready for us.
Mm.
I didn't know they were waiting to listen to me. So, or, waiting to come in. And I'm just overwhelmed. But it is about digging deep. And Jeanne has been very helpful in that for me.
Well, you bring up a sorry.
Travel Book Platinum EU hard side expandable checked luggage.
Oh, I'm sorry, who said?
Somebody's moving. Check luggage.
Sorry.
That's funny. Are we all moving up a launch?
Yeah.
Moving up to the east side?
Airplane.
Regina, I just wanted to affirm everything that you've just said about stuff. I'm Mr. Fix It, and I have stuff here that may come in handy.
Yeah.
Don't ask how much. And this is actually, it's something that I've been considering, just going through it all and saying, at this point in my life, what do I really need? What's going to serve me? And to what extent am I emotionally attached to things?
Well, Jerry just pulled out a propane torch. And he said, would you like me just to torch one of your old buildings that are full of all that stuff? And right now I'm kind of thinking about it.
Well, that's one way to take care of it.
Yes, one
I
way
also wanted to briefly respond to some things that Jeanne said. And one of them about the atmosphere of the sort of the whole mind control atmosphere. There's a whole lot of spiritual clickbait on the internet. A lot of messages purported to be from benign Pleiadians and so on and so on. And it seems to me that much of it, or at least the stuff I've seen, is a very skillful mixture of truth and distraction and subtle programming. And I won't name any particular names here, but I find it important to be aware of these things and to view them as part of a crash course in discernment. And that's really all I need to say about it. But that, don't prejudge anything, but don't swallow the whole enchilada.
Well, that's the discernment of the medium, and the responsibility that we have is to make sure that if we're going to go on record with something, that it really is something that is as clean as it can be at this time. And everybody wants to, the old adage about, oh, I found God, and the mice are saying, no, I found God. God is this tail of the elephant, and God is the trunk of the elephant, and God is this. We have to keep backing up and backing up and backing up to really see clearly now, as the song says. And that's what spirit is doing, being on the other side, because they have the ability to back up enough to really see much, much more of the picture than we possibly can hear. And that's why the whole connection has to be something that we're not only comfortable with, but we understand the language, and we have the ability to discern that which is something honorable and the other that is just BS, because there's a lot of that. And I am very opinionated about a lot of stuff that comes out because it doesn't resonate. And of course, you could say, well, you're just not there yet, Jeanne. Well, I think my experiences have brought me to a point of would differ just because the track record. And that's the other thing of all of us who are, intuitives is our track record. That's how I learned. People would say to me, well, how do you know that's right? Well, because that person came back to me and said, oh my gosh, la la la, you're so right. If I got the other part of that that said, oh my God, you're so off the barrel, I would probably retreat, either give it up or go back and learn how to do it again. But it's that constant feedback that said, that was right, that was right, that was right, that was right, that was right. I mean, specifically, really right on target. And then you realize, oh, okay, all right, I'll keep going with this. So that's one part of it, which has kept us here all this time. But as you said, Dan, there's almost gobbledygook that goes on, and people don't necessarily discern because people still want to have a savior. People still want to be saved. They want to be given information that makes them feel better. I know I've been there myself through my trials and tribulations in my life. We want to know that there's something out there to look forward to. We want to hang on to hope. And so sometimes people are desperate enough they'll glue themselves to anything that gives them a hit for a moment, like a drug or a nice brownie or something. And
I think also that prophecies, sort of mini prophecies and maxi prophecies, give us the feeling, oh, we're in the know.
Yeah, I don't.
That's
a very key point because for me,
go ahead.
prophecies, really good mediums, really good psychics will tell you they'll only forecast like 6 months ahead because we have free will. And at the time that we are reading a person, they may be intentioned for one direction, but something in that pathway might touch them after we see them, and they'll take another pathway and they'll go, oh, but you said we were going to do such and such. Yeah, but you made a different choice because there's always that free will of realizing, oh, no, that doesn't look like such. I'm going to take door number 2. I'm not going to go down door number 1 because we have that free will. One of the movies I love so much is the third Men in Black movie, and they have this prophetic alien creature called Griffin, and he has the ability to see 5 dimensions all at once, and then he watches for which one coalesces at the last minute to see which outcome is going to happen. And I love that because to me, whoever wrote that had some profound understanding about what really does take place. We have all these realities and all these other places things could go. So you're very right about that. And, I think we're best left with our own prophecies about our own lives, about really listening to what happens within us and living that way.
There was a prophet, Jeanne, back in the 1970s who kept predicting that on a particular date that the west coast of California would fall into the ocean. And when the date came around, she died.
Well, even Casey made prophecies that have not necessarily panned out, and yet others have. So there's some things do. It just depends on the trajectory of how we as a collective consciousness work the program. So, at the time, a medium might say, oh my gosh, I see this happening. But then people get involved and they collect themselves and they work together and they change the direction, which is why thought and prayer is so important and collective consciousness is so important because we make a difference. That's why even with all the things that are going on right now, we still make a collective difference. I've been loving watching all the little blips about Jane Goodall that are out since she passed. And her just wonderful sense of the world and how don't give up. You have to have hope. Don't give up. We can change things. And that's basically what so many of the others have said that are on the other side. If it's in our face and we're, clogged by things that we look at and read, we get overstimulated. We are not going to be receptacles when spirit comes to us and said, look, I have a message, but you got to clean the hallway so I can walk through the hallway to your door and get in so I can share this with you. So this is just, things I know you already know, but what I'm surprised at today is when I hear spirit telling me, there is information for each one of you that does this, that is vital, that you carry. So in other words, when you're imprinted with the messages from spirit, it becomes a part of you, and you vibrate it, you hold it, you carry it, you walk with it, and you become that prophecy in your own way. The responsibility is to carry that well, with clarity and with faith and peace, and knowing that it is traveling as a collective into the consciousness of our time. And that's a big responsibility. And what I feel Spirit really wanting all of you to get today is, this is what you have been training for. This is what you've been training for all this time. This is why some of you have lost children, some of you have lost this, you've lost that. This is what you're training for. You face death, you have faced really difficult things, and you come out on the other side. And that is what you are, a pillar of light and knowing. And you will probably get your own personal prophecy, which is whatever it's going to be for you, what your life needs to look like in the next year or two, or each step that you take one day at a time. And their Spirit's saying, this is team. This is a cosmic team now, you guys. Be clear about that. Take care of your body, take care of your mind. This is what you have trained for all these years. And if you're not quite sure what your spot is in that, your spot is to hold the light. So whatever messages or prophecy are vibrating, the light illuminates it for others who are hungry to see and be able to hold and grasp and chew on, if you will, and be inspired by. The light is just the most important thing. So the vision isn't dark. And so I think really Spirit just conned me into saying that we have a responsibility as mediums to go over the basics, but it's not at all. They're calling all of you to this understanding, is that there is all this stuff that's going to be out there. We have to really kind of refrain from it and have a cosmic or spiritual sieve to sift through all of it. And I don't think many of you need even to look at it, because you're really so directly in tune and so centered. But it's a daily thing of checking to see if our floors are clean, metaphorically, so that we can be as clean as possible as message bearers. And that knowing, whether we share it in a group or a book or a commentary and inner voice or whatever we do, but we're as clear as we can be in our own energetic, because that is what is so vital and important right now. And yeah, they're just yelling at me that. So I don't really feel I need to go any further, except for people who might have questions or anything.
Well, Sally had her hand up for a while. Sally?
Well, we kind of moved on from the topic of prophecy, but while you were talking about prophecy, Jeannie, it brought to mind the fact that in the circle that I sit in weekly now, we just had the topic of signs, symbols, and omens. And I was really nervous for some reason around that word omen. It had an uncomfortable feeling to me, but basically it's just omens. What came through was that they're for humanity more at large, but that they portend a future. It's incorrect to say the future, that they portend a future and a shift. And I think we're maybe seeing lots of collectively omens these days, right? And they're pointing to a future and they're pointing to a shift. And maybe it's just about becoming comfortable with that.
That's a really good point. And when you say that, Dan, a friend of yours, sent an email to me today, Larry Bush. He met you through New Dimensions and knows of your work. Anyway, he's been reading Cosmic Voices. And he said he was really impressed with the channeling that came through my daughter, Kylene, who has been over on the other side since 2011. And he said she seemed to have a bigger awareness of things on that side than most. And I wrote back to him, I said, well, she grew up with a family of meditators and consciousness seekers. So she already had that background, but that's already who she was. Like you said, Sally, with your son, he was already there. And so when she went over, she was very able to get right into that space, because she has been a primary instructor, if you will, with information that was given to us over the last 10 years to help us with work that my smaller group has been doing collectively. And as a mom, it was really, I was very touched that he noticed her. And I was grateful to have that, because my friends know her, of course, but that he, who had not come across her before, had that sense of things. Because when you talk about a reality, one of the things Kylie is very key on is consensus of thought, and how, if a large enough collective has the same consensus, then that's what it is. If we all have the agreement the sky is blue, then it's blue. But if we also decided we wanted it to be some other color and we were in consensus with it, it would change the direction of it. The mind is a powerful thing. And that's why there's such a power struggle for the mind, to control the mind, to keep it away from thinking more deeply, being more aware, exploring, et cetera, things like that. And I have to tell you this because Robert's right here. Bob Redford's right here. He goes, tell her about the movie. And then I think that'll be time to wrap that up. But one of the movies that I watched after he passed was a movie made in 2017 called The Discovery. And it took me a while to get through it. It was like, but it was about, he was a scientist and he discovered this machine that irrefutably proved there was an afterlife. And it was the consensus of the world that this machine had proven this. But instead of people being excited about the afterlife and knowing they had something to look forward to, they were committing suicide because they wanted to get there. They didn't want to wait to live their lives. They just wanted to get out of this one and die. And his son, which the actor was Jason Segel, was just really, really angry with his father for various reasons. Anyway, they had this big castle that they purchased, and they were doing more experimentation and helping people who had tried to commit suicide and weren't able to take their life. So they were recovering with him in this organization. And Jason Segel, in his curiosity, found that the machine was actually, it looked like almost looked like young Frankenstein and that movie, but all attached to electrodes and everything. The machine was actually recording something, and Jason could see it on his little iPad, and they were trying to figure out what that was, and it wasn't what they thought it was. It was actually shifting reality, going from one reality to another. And he had this relation. He saved a girl from drowning that then came with him to see his dad, and she was there. And he found out, I shouldn't tell stories if you want to see the movie, but basically they found out that he had saved her life, but he had done it a dozen times before, trying to get her to a different place so that she could do what she needed to do. And finally that happened, which was to save her son, who had, as a 5-year-old, had walked out of their house and gone into the ocean and drowned. And so he finally got, with this experience, almost like Groundhog Day, the movie, got her to a place where she was able to go and save her son. And consciousness, what is it, So who knows how many realities we're all experiencing right now. As Seth would say, we're all many-layered beings, multifaceted, multi-dimensional beings. And I think that's a really key point with a reality, not the reality, and which one is going to be the one that comes through. That's why you have people that say about the United States, it's doomed, which it's going to be, it's going to look like the fifth element after a while. Or no, we're really going to come through and there's going to be this kind of rapture, where we're heaven on earth. And it hasn't really been decided yet, because it's all about consciousness and how it plays itself out and how people are going to be influenced. Anyway, if we're going to give Mr. Redford any time with his piece from Cosmic Voices, we probably should round this part of it up.
This message just went up this past within the last week or two.